Interesting. This is the third time. If it comes back around, it's gonna be the third time it's circling here. Oh, he's coming back. They did this on the other side of my town a couple weeks ago. This is the first time this ever happened. I lived here for about almost 8 years now. Seems like it's right around my farm because I live on a farm. Look at it, here it comes. Wonder why he's doing that. Are those flashy lights, are they like taking photos or what? Now, one thing I can count out, okay? This has nothing to do with gang stalking because it's too obvious. And it's probably have nothing to do with like a drug raid or try to bust some people because they do it way too close, and this is so obvious. It's so obvious to a point that it makes no sense. Other than they're just doing training, maybe trying to land, but then it's not ready to land. It's very possible it goes in a circle because it's not ready to land yet. I do live on a farm, so my neighbors are really far away. It's literally flying at the edge of my property line and back. So right there where it's at is part of my property. Where it circles is part of my property. See, now it's still part of my property. Coming back around, part of my property, part of my property, part of my property, part of my property, part of my property. All right, now it's at the very edge of my neighbors and my property. See, part of my property. Fascinating. This has never happened before. Wonder why. And one good reason it's circling here is because I do have a lot of lights on. So for any plane that's flying or pilot, they would prefer probably circle somewhere where there's light, a good indicator. You know, I would imagine they wouldn't circle around areas where it's dark on the ground, because this seems kind of, you know, it's just not as good visually as compared to, you know, there's a lot of ground light or minimal ground light or ground light that's somewhat not too much like within the city or within the town, like downtown. So out here it's like mostly dark. If you look, notice like from here all the way to that next light, there's like darkness, but right here where my property, there's light. So it's like a darkness and then just one property with light in the middle. So I would imagine that's probably a good spot to circle if it needs to circle around before it can finally land somewhere. There's a hospital not too far away. I know they have helicopters. So, well, actually all hospitals have helicopters. Maybe he's trying to land there. Maybe he's waiting for another helicopter to take off before he lands. I don't know. And maybe it needs to go to a spot where where there's not much traffic. And you know, I mean, I don't know what the aviation protocol is, but if it's circling around, I would imagine it's safer to circle an area with less homes, because if they circle by the hospital, you know, there's other houses around. If the plane goes down, the helicopter goes down, it could technically be more dangerous to civilians. So I would imagine they'll probably circle in an area where there's less homes. So just in case it crashed or for malfunction, it can crash away from homes and people, I guess. I mean, that would make sense for aviation protocol, I would imagine. I mean, right? If you got to circle around before you can land, if there's an option between an area with a lot of homes or an option with less homes, they would probably tell the pilot to circle areas with less homes. And since I live on a farm and all my neighbors are farmers, there's more open space if the helicopter needs to land right away, or if it malfunction needs to crash somewhere, it could at least crash away from homes, I guess. I mean, that would make sense. But is this part of gang stalking? Nah, it's not part of gang stalking. I got a feeling this pilot just wants to land, is just waiting to land. And this is probably the safest, closest area to be circling in the air. I think he's waiting to land on a landing area, but he's just waiting. Because after maybe one time circling, it just no longer makes sense for them to keep going circle for like 7-8 times. Because common sense says, okay, if they want to do surveillance, all they gotta do is fly one time in one circle and they're done taking a bunch of photos. They don't need to keep going circle 8 times, 10 times. If police were gonna show up here, SWAT's gonna show up. This is lame, because if I'm doing anything bad, trying to catch people, those bad people would have already left. They would have left this place already. And it's not surveillance, because they would have got everything they need the first time they go in a circle. So they wouldn't need to go so many circles. So my best guess is it's just waiting to land. Now, the real thing that all of you TI needs to be focused on is this. Look at the light. Notice that looks like a filter, a static, the electric mist. Notice the curve. They call it light flare, but look at the way it curves on the bottom. And there's an opposite curve that curves kind of arch upwards. Now that's what all TI needs to be focused on. See that? It actually moves. It's in the environment. And it moves. This has nothing to do with rendering images or images try to buffer. This is exactly what the camera's picking up in the environment. Just like how it's picking up the light, it's picking up the trees, it's picking up Right here is picking up all these persimmons. Oh, now it got darker. That's a persimmon tree. It's picking up all the persimmons. It's also picking up that electric mist. Notice how it changed. When I zoom out, look at the middle. There's like a yellowish light beam. When I zoom in, it changed. Zoom out. See that? Look in the middle of the light beam. It's like yellow, white. If I zoom into it, oh, it's all white. Zoom out, yellow, white. Zoom in, all white. So what is it? Yeah, simple to say, oh, just some light effect or light reflecting off a camera. Is it really? Is it? Look at that. T.I. needs to ask herself, are the gang stalkers human? Why are they one step ahead of you? Some of you TIs tell yourself, oh, you know exactly who the gang stalkers are. Do you? If you know, then how come they're still one step ahead of you? If it's your cell phone tracking you, then why are you still using a cell phone? If you believe you have an implant, then how come you haven't gotten some type of Faraday material to block out the signals? Have you tried everything in your... Have you tried out every single method to prevent these quote unquote humans from tracking you? Go ahead, do that. You will notice they are still there. That is because they are not human. This electric mist are everywhere. I've shown you this before. They are everywhere. Everywhere. We are inside of it. That's how they know exactly where we are, what we are doing, and what we're thinking, because we are inside of it. As long as we are inside of it, it knows us. It knows all the secrets when it's not even secrets to them. That's why the best approach is no fear. And who cares? Let them watch you. When you go out, let them follow you. You can't get away anyways, because you're walking inside of them. They are big aliens. Look at it. Not the moonlight or the flickering around the moonlight. It's like a giant dome, like the Truman Show. We are living inside of it. Where do you think the writer of Truman Show get the idea from? The idea was fed to that writer. Where do you think Star Trek comes from? It's fed. The idea is fed into the writer's mind. George Lucas, Star Wars, really? Of course these aliens fed the idea into his head. George Lucas is a TI. Shumonk signing out.